Okay, so in the previous video we looked at the definition of summary writing, the characteristics of summary writing, and why they need to study summary writing. In this video we are going to look at certain terminologies that are used in the framing of the questions of summary writing in the WASSCE English language paper 2. Most often than not, students find it difficult understanding these terminologies that are used. So in this video, I'll be explaining some of these terminologies briefly so that you would have a clear understanding of what you're expected to do when you come across such terms. Now, some of these terms are usually found in the way the questions are framed. For example, let's look at this question. Also, let's consider this question. Alright, so when you come across such questions, what should you do? Before you can do anything, you have to understand what the question demands, and that is why I have made this video for you. So I'm going to explain to you what we mean by, in one sentence, summarize what the writer says in paragraph 1, or in 4 sentences, 4 for each, summarize the causes of joblessness in Africa. When you come across such questions, what should you do? So these are the explanations. First keyword that we shall look at is sentence. Usually they say in 2 sentences, 1 for each, summarize so and so and so. What do we mean by in 2 sentences? This is what we mean by that. When they say in 2 sentences, they simply want you to write your answer in a sentence form. And so in summary writing, every answer you write should be in a sentence form, which means it should have a subject, verb, object, or subject, verb, complement, or subject, verb, object, complement structure. And what we mean by that, we mean that the sentence that you have written for your answer should contain a subject, a verb, and an object, or it should contain a subject, a verb, and a complement, or it should contain a subject, a verb, an object, plus a complement. So remember that when we say in 3 sentences, 1 for each, what we mean is that your answer should be written in a sentence form. Remember, it should be written in a sentence form. If you don't write your answer in a sentence form, then you are going to be penalized. So if the marks for that question is 10, you are going to be marked over 5. If it is 5, you are going to be marked over 2.5. Another phrase or terminology that is usually used in the framing of the question is 1 for each. 1 for each. So when we say in 3 sentences, 1 for each, what do we mean by 1 for each? This is the meaning. When we say in 3 sentences, 1 for each, we mean that you must write 3 separate sentences for your answers, and each answer must have 1 sentence for it. So if you're going to write 3 answers, the first sentence should contain the first answer, the second sentence should contain the second answer, and the third sentence should contain the third answer. Having understood this, I believe you'll be able to understand any question that is framed for you. So when there is a question like this, in 6 sentences, 1 for each, summarize the causes of global warming. What does it mean? It means that you must write 6 sentences for us, and each sentence must contain 1 answer. So 6 times 1 will give us 6. So at the end of the day, you will write 6 separate sentences, and each of the 6 separate sentences shall contain only 1 answer. So in 6 sentences, 1 for each, summarize the causes of global warming means write 6 different sentences for us, and each of the 6 different sentences must contain only one answer. Again, when they say in 4 sentences, one for each, summarize the advantages of aluminium ladders over wooden ladders. What do we mean? We mean that you should write 4 separate sentences and each sentence must contain one answer. Another terminology that usually confuses students is this phrase, in your own words, as far as possible. So usually when they are framing the question, they would say in 6 sentences, summarize the 4 causes of global warming in your own words as far as possible. So when you get such a phrase or such a question, what do we mean by in your own words and as far as possible? This is the explanation. So when the examiner asks you to write the answers in your own words as far as possible, this is what the examiner means. The examiner simply wants to say that when you find the answer in the given text or passage, do not lift the answer verbatim and put it in your answer booklet as your answer. If you do that, that would lead to what we call mindless lifting. So if there is an answer in the passage you are given and you left that answer verbatim and put it in your answer booklet as your answer, then the examiner is going to mark that answer wrong because you have not written the answer in your own words as far as possible. You have simply lifted the answer for them, and that is called mindless lifting. So as a student who wants to pass your summary exam, this is what you should do. When you identify the answer in the passage, try and ask or try and see if you can explain some expressions that are used in the answer yourself, or whether you can replace given vocabularies or phrases in the answer yourself, or whether you can substitute other expressions in place of the ones that are used in the answer. If you can do any of such things, then do it. So in writing their summary answers, you students are encouraged to write it in their own words as far as possible and not left it verbatim from the passage. So what do we mean by as far as possible? This is the meaning. Sometimes in certain situations, you may not be able to replace a given word or expression with another word or expression. So in that instance, what the student must do is to borrow the expression that has been given originally in the passage, and we call it fair borrowing. That is, you are not obliged to replace every word in the passage or every word in the text with your own words as we have made students to understand, but you have to sometimes use some of the words that are given in the text or passage as your own and not bother yourself changing it. Why? Because when you try replacing that word with another word, you may end up changing the meaning of the original idea in the text or passage. Let's look at this example to buttress my point. So clearly, this student tried to replace the word government with politicians, and so he ended up changing the meaning of the original idea in the passage. Therefore, his answer is wrong. So when you are given certain phrases or expressions which pose difficulty in replacing them, you should just borrow them as they are and use them. We call it fair borrowing. So as far as possible means if it is not possible for you to replace the word or change it, do not change it. Just go for it. Alright guys, so if you enjoyed this video, then I am encouraging you to subscribe to English Police and then click on the notification bell so that when I make another video, you will be notified immediately. Thank you for watching. See you another time for lesson 3.